panel discussion.
Okay, our next speaker is Tom Stricker with Toyota Motor North America.
Excuse me. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to try to get through this with a very minimal voice that I have today. I was asked to focus remarks on the auto industry's views on alternative energy technology, as well as Toyota's sort of specific strategy, which is a lot to cover in 5 minutes. But let me start with a few comments on the industry. We're all facing the same basic set of challenges. You know, where for the better part of the past 30 years, air quality was what was really driving us and keeping our engineers busy. We now face a whole different and new set of issues that have evolved over the past 10 years or so, or at least have gained prominence over the past 10 years or so, from traffic congestion, energy security, depleting resources, and the threat of climate change. Our industry made a significant commitment this year, standing with President Obama, to announce a single national fuel economy and greenhouse gas program for motor vehicles that will raise the fuel economy of the new vehicle fleet to 35.5 miles per gallon by 2016, which is about a 30% improvement over the 2008 fuel economy levels. These standards are going to drive changes in conventional vehicles, as you might expect. We're going to see more valve train system advances, lightweight materials. You'll probably see turbocharging and downsizing of conventional engines, direct injected gasoline engines, which are out there now, but you'll see a greater share of those, as well as more and more hybrid vehicles. Looking beyond the near-term commitments, all of the companies are looking at electrification, fuel cells, plug-in hybrids, etc. And I'll talk a little bit more about Toyota's strategy on that. With respect to Toyota's strategy, basically we see 4 key pillars to sustainable mobility. First, we have to address the vehicles themselves, and I'll say a little bit more about that in a minute. Second, we have to address the urban environment in which all of these new technologies are going to live, combining intelligent highways, mass transit, bike, walking paths, shared vehicle concepts, recharging, kiosks throughout cities, and of course, ultimately hydrogen refueling stations as well. Third, we need to address the need for partnerships between the energy sector, the transportation sector, along with government and the academic community to help bring these new technologies to. And finally, we have to address the energy that's going to be used to fuel these new vehicles. For example, is the power grid going to be fueled by coal, or natural gas, wind? Are there going to be places for people to charge their cars while they're at work and anytime during the day? Will biofuels ever really be practical or not? And can a hydrogen refueling infrastructure be deployed in the U.S.? We need to wrestle with all of these questions, and the answers are not going to come easy. In terms of Toyota's future powertrain strategy, we have hybrid as our core into the future that we can see, because hybrid technology can be applied to any kind of powertrain system. Gasoline engine, diesel engine, alternative fueled engine, fuel cell. Our current prototype fuel cell vehicles use essentially the same hybrid system as the Highlander hybrid. And we've been fairly successful with our hybrid strategy to date. This chart's a little old. We're actually over 2 million global sales of hybrids to date, with over 1 million of those in the U.S. Unfortunately, in spite of this good news for Toyota, as an industry, we're still below 2 to 3% in terms of total penetration of hybrids. In terms of Toyota's advanced vehicles, I don't have time to say a whole lot about this, but we'll answer questions. We're pursuing 3 key technologies. Building on our 20 years or so of work in the hybrid area, we're actively developing plug-in hybrid vehicle technology using lithium-ion batteries. Early next year, we'll be launching a Prius plug-in demonstration program globally with 500 vehicles, 150 of those coming to the U.S. Key challenges, of course, remain in terms of battery cost and durability, as I mentioned, charging infrastructure, as well as codes and standards related to that infrastructure. We're also making a lot of progress on hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, which, of course, combine hydrogen and oxygen to form electricity with no emissions. We've largely overcome a lot of technical hurdles that we've been facing in terms of cold weather starting, as well as vehicle range on a refueling. But we still need to reduce costs for this technology by about a factor of 100. And hydrogen infrastructure, again, is going to be extremely challenging. And finally, within a couple of years, hopefully by 2012, we expect to bring a small commuter EV vehicle to the market, focusing on urban-type commutes, short commutes. Our early efforts selling a RAV4 electric vehicle in California were not as successful as we had hoped they would be. Nonetheless, we think that the time is right to build on that past experience and look to a small commuter-type vehicle. Which brings me to my last slide, which is some of the kind of higher level points that we think are needed for any of these technologies actually to ultimately be successful. First of all, mass market appeal is critical. And that's one thing with the Prius, for example, that we think we've really kind of crossed that Rubicon with hybrid technology and getting it into the mass market. 5,000, 50,000 plug-in hybrids aren't going to do the trick. They're just not going to make a dent in the issues. We've got to have mass market appeal for these technologies. Secondly, we need to let consumers decide which of these technologies they ultimately want to purchase. We don't need to tell them which ones they should be taking. Thirdly, these new technologies have to be better in every respect than what they're replacing. And they can't create problems while trying to solve other problems. And finally, policy support for some of these technologies in terms of incentives, et cetera, is going to be critical in the early stages. But we generally believe those kinds of support should be temporary and that ultimately these kinds of technologies are going to need to stand on their own in the marketplace. So that's all I have to share with you, and looking forward to your questions. Thank you.